Hello everyone, how are you? Happy Friday Eve. Let's get started and let's take this one step at a time and then put it all together like we normally do. So I'm gonna flip you guys around. Okay, so let's talk about this gorgeous, gorgeous Pearlesque Capture chain in seafoam. So this is one of my all-time favorite colors. If excuse me, if you all have not had a chance to use any of the Pearlesque Capture chain, you need to do yourself a favor and go over to SilverSilkonline.com and check it out. This is a little bit different than the regular capture chain. And let me just hold two pieces of this up so that you can hopefully see a little bit of the difference here. So this is the silver, just the plain silver. It's not Pearlesque, it's just plain old silver. And it has that ball chain running through the inside of it. Now the difference with the Pearlesque is that it has this Aurora Borealis metallic thread that is knitted over the ball chain, and then the wire is knitted over the top of that. So this is really a very three-dimensional chain. There's a lot going on here. That metallic shimmer really comes through in all of the little holes throughout the chain, and it really just gives it a different feel. It all feels like silk. If you've never used SilverSilk before, what are you waiting on? This stuff is so luxurious. There is a reason that it's called SilverSilk, because it does in fact feel like silk. But the Pearlesque, it just has that additional shimmer and sparkle to it that's not quite coming across on camera, but trust me when I say that it's really stunning and it looks beautiful in every color. And there are a lot of colors to choose from. So definitely when this video is over, go check out on the website and just look at all the different colors that are available in this and in just the regular capture chain. This is really some beautiful stuff. Okay, so we're going to need 3 pieces of the seafoam, or if you're using a different color, that's totally fine too, but we're going to need about 8 inches and three strands, because we're going to use the 3-strand connector for this. Now, I have cut my strands all the exact same length. They may be off just a tiny bit. For the most part, though, they are they're cut to the same length. Excuse me. That's going to make this hang a little bit differently than if you were to stagger this. Now, what I mean by that is once you put this connector on the end, it's gonna go ahead and take that necklace shape, but because you've cut the pieces, it would help if you could see them. Sorry. Because you've cut these pieces at the exact same length, they're not going to lay necessarily the way you want them to. I'm not going to say you're going to be disappointed with it. It's just a different way that the necklace is going to lay. And for this type of project, that's totally fine. It works for this. If you are interested in making a 3-strand design and you want it to lay nice and flat, then you are going to have to stagger your pieces. You're not going to need to cut these all at the exact same length. And I would only stagger it by just a tiny bit. So if you can see the balls in the ball chain, the bottom strand, you would want it to be maybe 2 of the ball chains longer than the middle strand, and then 4 longer than the inside strand. Do you see what I'm saying? That inner strand is going to be the shortest, and then you're going to step up for that middle strand, and then you're going to step up again for the longer strand on the outer edge. Okay, so keep that in mind, because that's going to make a difference when you are creating your pieces as to how your SilverSilk is going to lay up against your skin. Okay, so just an FYI. I did, however, cut all 3 of these the exact same length. Okay, because it works with this design. So I'm going to use one of the end caps here that is for 3 strands. And to do this, you just want to slide the end of all 3 of your pieces, if you can if you can hold them together and keep them from slipping out. And if I could put it where you guys could see it, that would probably help too. All right, so I'm gonna add all 3 of these into the connector here, and then I'm very, very carefully going to switch hands, because I need, well, I'm not really switching hands, I'm just kind of changing direction here. Okay, so what you want is you want to be sure that it's going all the way. Oh, there's Jane. Jane's back. Hi, Jane. Jane is part of my left and my right, and it just kind of depends on the day whether she's the left or the right. I know that's silly, but Jane's a good friend of mine. So you want to be sure that this is going into the connector, or not the connector, I'm sorry, the end cap as far as it will go. And you want all three of them to be in at the same, you know, you don't want one to be all the way in there and one of them just halfway in there. So you're definitely going to take advantage of everything being cut the same length there, okay? All right, so I'm going to use my Nylon Jaw Pliers, and you guys can see these. They are so worn out, I will have you know, because I complained about it last week. My Nylon Jaw Pliers are in such terrible shape, I have a new pair coming. So I was like, if I'm going to be closing these end caps, I got to have a better pair of Nylon Jaw Pliers. So you guys will just bear with me. So I'm just going to squeeze. So you can see I still have a little bit of space here. And so I'm just going to give it a few more squeezes. Joan says, there's my right. I have my right and my left. Joan is the other. She's part of our little trio. So Joan says that one time, Nile said that he likes his worn out like that. Well, you know, I do too, depending on what I'm working on. But when it comes to this, I don't know. I think mine are just too slippery in there, which is weird. But yeah, so... All right, so you want to give it the tug test and make sure that you've got everything nice and secure, okay? And please overlook that glare. The lighting is just weird. It's going to take me a while to figure it out. Jane. All right, Jane, you're going to get me tickled and then I'm not going to be able to go on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and come down to the other end with my 3 ends, and I'm going to go ahead and connect this to another one of the end caps. So same thing, just sliding all 3 ends into the end cap in the little slots where they go, because they do have their own little lane inside there. Okay, make sure that they're all in the right lane. Nobody's crisscrossing over each other. Everybody is behaving themselves. Okay, so now making sure that everything's in there really, really good. And now I'm going to squeeze with my pliers again, okay? And I like to squeeze both directions. Jane, her Nylon Jaw Pliers arrived today. That's awesome. I can't wait for my new pair to get here. I love tools. I'm such a tool collector, if you will. Okay, so something that I didn't mention is you will notice on all these end caps, they have that really beautiful SS for SilverSilk. I always try to make those go in the same direction so that when this is laying on your skin, that both of the end caps have the S's showing, just because they're so beautiful. If that's not your thing though, you can certainly turn them around so that it is flat and the S's don't show. But I think they're just really so beautiful. So I like to have them both facing the same direction. Okay, so this is the easiest part. Excuse me. The next part of this is just to add some length to this. So I already have pre-cut 2 pieces of chain, and they are already together with a little lobster clasp. All I'm going to do is just open up these 6mm jump rings on the ends and attach it to the end caps on my SilverSilk. And then we're going to sit this whole section to the side because we're going to work on that center section, okay? If you guys remember what the teaser pick looks like, we're going to be building a really cool kind of, I don't know, it almost has like a bolo look to it. Just a very interesting use of the SilverSilk, I thought. So we'll check that out. But it's a process, so we'll get there. So let's go ahead and do this part and sit this to the side because, you know, we can move on from this and bring it back out at the end and it will be ready to go. So I'm just adding some chain. Now my chain pieces are 5 inches each. You can adjust the length of your necklace on the chain portion. So if you need a longer or a shorter necklace, definitely make your adjustments there instead of in the SilverSilk itself, okay? Stick with the 8-inch sections of your SilverSilk. All right, so I'm gonna sit this to the side and we're gonna bring in our silver piece of the capture chain. So, excuse me. The very first thing that we're going to do, let me tell you how long this piece is. So this is about 11 or 12 inches. If you've worked with SilverSilk before, you know that it has a little bit of elasticity to it. It's not much, it's just a tiny bit. So when you stretch this out, if you really pull on it, then you're going to get a full 12 inches out of this. But if you don't and you just lay it down nicely, you're going to get about 11.5 inches. So anywhere in between there is totally fine. The focal bead is this great big blue guy. Now, I couldn't even begin to tell you. Well, I can check because I just happen to have my gauge here. Let's see. So it looks like this is a 29 gauge. 29 gauge. Oh my gosh, a 29 millimeter from top to bottom. So this is a big bead, okay? This is going to be the focal of our necklace, and it's drilled top to bottom, so we are going to have to create a bail on the top of it and then thread it onto our capture chain. So let's go ahead and do that. Are you using your ruler? Jane asks. Yes, I have the weirdest ruler on the planet, and I absolutely am using it. Let me show it to you guys for those of you who did not see earlier. Okay, look at my ruler and tell me what's wrong with it. Anybody? Anybody? Yeah. So my ruler does not go all the way to 12 inches, which I think is just totally bizarre, but I use it anyway. It's a good ruler. Okay, so we're going to need a piece of 22 gauge wire for this, and I'm using a large piece for this. This is about, let's see, I have written down 7 inches, but I can tell you just from looking at this, this is way more than 7 inches. 7 inches is obviously all that you're going to need, but I always cut more than I need. So, is it oval? Yes, Jane, it is absolutely oval. It is, yeah, it's oval. It's kind of hard to tell over the camera, but yeah, it is. And this was part of, where did I get this? This came from the Maui Destination Hawaii collection of the Jessie James beads. This was in the Maui blue. So if you're looking for these exact beads, I'm pretty sure they're still available over on the Jessie James Beads website. Go on over there and check them out. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create that head pin, the knotted head pin that we did last week. So I'm just going to do the same thing again. So for those of you who missed it, I'm going to show it to you. Whose elevator doesn't go all the way to the top? Mine? Jane! All right. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm taking my round nose pliers and I'm going to grab that wire right at the very, very tip. Okay. Must have been a Friday afternoon production at the Ruler Factory. I know, right? So weird. Okay, so I'm grabbing that wire at the very, very tip. Like I said, 22 gauge wire. That's my go-to size for most things. And I am using German style wire, but you are welcome to use artistic wire if you would rather. And 7 inches is all you need. I've got way more than that. I'm going to take the wire and I'm just going to coil it around the tip of the pliers, like the very, very tip. Going around once, okay, and you can see, you can keep count because you can see that little flush end of my wire, that little shine right there, okay? And now I'm going to go around twice. Jane's feeling frisky tonight, she says. All right, so now I've gone around twice. When I go around twice and I see the end of that wire, I'm going to stop. I'm going to hold the wire on the pliers and then I'm going to bend the wire 90 degrees out this direction, okay? And now I'm going to take this off of the pliers and I'm going to take the tail end of the wire and I'm going to thread it through those 2 loops that we just made, okay? So this is what we were going to have. All right. Now, I'm going to come in with my Nylon Jaw Pliers. Now, this is why my Nylon Jaw Pliers are so beaten up, because of how often I use this technique. So I'm going to grab that wire right next to the 2 coils that we made, okay? So the wire is running through the jaws of the pliers. I'm going to use a pair of bent chain nose pliers, and you can use regular chain nose if you want to. I just feel like I get a really good grip. I'm going to hold on to that wire, and I'm going to pull. And I'm going to pull really tight, okay? And I don't know if you can see it, I'm shaking just a little bit, like that's how much I'm pulling here, okay? So then when you look at the top of this, you've got this cute little rosette shape. It's just a little knot in your wire. And what we've done is we have made ourselves a head pin. Now, excuse me, the difference in this head pin between the other kinds of head pins that I have seen made out of wire is that the wire is actually coming from the center. So if you just made your little loops and then, you know, bent your wire and didn't go through to pull the knot, the wire would be off to one side. I hope that makes sense. It just makes it off center. But if you go ahead and pull the knot through it, then the wire is coming through the center and your bead is going to hang perfectly on it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take this great big gargantuan beautiful bead and we're going to thread that down to the bottom so that it is on our little head pin that we knotted. Okay, and now I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers. Joan, bring out the best in me. I'll behave. You don't have to behave, Joan or Jane or Joan. You guys don't have to behave. It just wouldn't be you if you were behaving. All right, so I'm holding that wire right above where the wire is coming out of the bead, and I'm bending that wire 90 degrees over the top of the pliers, okay? So when I take the pliers away, I've got a little bit of space here. That's all right, my connection says it's a little low. Everybody, cross your fingers. I've had internet problems today. All right, looks like it's coming back up. You guys, I lost the connection right at the end of Facebook earlier, so I apologize. If I disappear, I'll come back, okay? Okay, so now I'm bringing in my round nose pliers, and you'll notice that I come in right around here because I like to make my loops really small, but for this, we need the loops to be big because we need this loop to be big enough to go over the capture chain, okay? So in order to do that, I'm going to bring the wire down here to the very back of my pliers where it's going to make the biggest loop, okay? So, short interruption. I'm so sorry, you guys. I don't know what's going on with the internet around here. I do know that we've had really heavy winds today. So we're not anywhere close to the hurricane, so we've not had any rain, but the wind, we definitely have hurricane winds that are making their way to our portion of the eastern part of the United States. So that may have something to do with it. I don't know. Okay, so I've pulled that wire. It's running between the pliers down here where the biggest portion of my pliers is. Now I'm going to take that wire and I'm going to go up and over just like I normally would do. I'm going to readjust my grip, but this time instead of wire wrapping, I'm actually going to go around the pliers another time, okay? So in order to do that, I have to reopen my pliers and allow that wire to come through. So now I've gone around twice, and I'm actually going to go around 3 times, okay? This is a particularly good technique if you are using very thin gauge wire, 24, 26 gauge wire, and you're making a wrapped loop. Just to reinforce that loop, it helps to go around the pliers more than once, so just keep that in mind. We're doing it for decorative purposes, but if you wanted to do this to reinforce your loops, it's always a good trick to have. All right, so now this time we're just going to treat it like a regular loop, okay, where we're going to wrap it. So I went around the pliers 3 times. I'm going to switch hands, and I'm going to take this long portion of the wire, and I'm going to wire wrap that straight section, and I've got enough room to go about 4 times, but I still have all this tail. And in order to balance this piece and to not have it feel too bottom heavy, I'm going to go ahead and re-wrap over those wraps going upwards, and this is just going to thicken up the wire wraps. It's not really for security purposes, it's really just to create balance, okay? Just to have a thicker wire wrap in between there, so that's like a double layer. That's really just going to kind of help keep everything balanced, okay? So now when I take it off of the pliers, I have this large loop that's actually 3, and I've got this reinforced wire wrap, and now I'm ready to cut off my tail, okay? And I want to trim that as close to the wraps as I can get it. and if there happens to be any that is sticking out, then just go ahead and squeeze that in. Okay, so now at this point, there are two different things that you can do. You can leave this, I'm going to turn it this way because this is the way that it's going to hang. You can leave it just like this, just a 3 wrap if you want to. But you do have the option to separate the wraps out to make it just kind of more decorative. It looks more like a bail of sorts, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. And like I said, you don't have to do that part. I'm actually going to turn it this direction though, okay? Excuse me. All right, so I'm going to just take my thumbnail. You guys, now this is why I have the worst manicure in the whole entire world. Number one, because the wire, for whatever reason, dries my hands out really, really badly. And because I use my fingernails for all kinds of things. So having a nice manicure just does not ever, it never stays. So I'm just going to slide my thumbnail in between the wires and just kind of gently pull them apart. You can see, whoa, I've got just a slight amount of space here. Now, I use flathead pliers for this. This is probably the only time I use these pliers. I really cannot think of other times that I use these pliers for anything. I'm sure that there are other times, but I never grab for these. I don't know why. All right, so I'm going to use these pliers just like my fingernails. So I'm gonna slide the pliers in between the wires, okay, just like that. And, oh, I could keep them in there. And then I'm just very gently going to open the wires up, okay? So spreading them apart like that is gonna give you just a kind of a decorative addition. And again, totally not necessary, but if you want to, you know, pretend like you're a fancy wire worker, well then there you go. Easy to do, super, super easy, but just a little decorative addition that, you know, you can go for it or not. It really makes no difference. Either way, you've got a good sturdy wire connection here. You don't have to worry about this coming undone. It's not like a jump ring where you have to worry that if it gets pulled, it's gonna pull apart, okay? So you've got a good sturdy connection for a very large bead. Okay, so now let's go ahead and thread this on to our SilverSilk chain. Now this is just the regular capture chain in silver, okay? And we're threading this on now. Even though it's going to be kind of in the way as we're working, it's necessary because once we get the ends on these pieces of chain, we won't be able to put the bead on. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and just try to keep it out of your way as you're working. All right, so what I'm going to do with these ends is a little bit different than I think you guys have seen anybody do with SilverSilk. I don't know, Nile may do this, but I haven't seen it recently, so I'm just going to leave it at that. All right, so what I'm going to do, instead of using some sort of end cap or a terminator of sorts, I'm going to bring in another piece of 22 gauge wire. You guys are going to see me use 22 gauge wire for almost everything. This is really my favorite gauge. You can use whatever you're comfortable with. And I've got two pieces that are about, these are about 4 inches. Is that what I need? No, these are not the ones. I need the 6-inch pieces. I've got a couple of pieces of wire pre-cut. Okay, so this is my guesstimate for 6 inches, and I am not afraid to tell you that that is way more than 6 inches, but hey, that's just the way I do things. 6 inches is all you're gonna need though, just take my word for it. Okay, so what we're gonna do, and this is gonna explain why my ends are so raggedy here. We're going to take this wire and we're actually going to wire wrap the end of this. And let's see. It's always kind of difficult and not the most beautiful technique. So just bear with me. I'm going to come down here, probably, I'm going to go about 4 of the balls in. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 from that ball chain. I'm going to go in and then I'm going to try to lay this wire between the 3rd and 4th ball, okay? And then I'm going to very, very carefully make 1 wrap. And let me tell you something, this is not going to be pretty wire wrapping, but it doesn't matter because it's not going to show, okay? So if you're not good at wire wrapping, don't be discouraged. Go ahead and do this because it's not going to show. We're going to hide it all. You're not going to see any of this messy business. So I wrapped it around once. That's just going to kind of anchor it to the capture chain. And now we're going to wire wrap around it a couple more times on the end, just because we want to be sure that we have a nice secure end. Okay. And like I said, it doesn't have to be pretty, just some wire wraps. Okay. And then we're going to bend that wire. I'm going to take my pliers to do this. Could you push it through the chain? Well, yes, and yes, but how about that? Not yes and no, but yes, but you absolutely can. And I have done that. But I find that the wire gets pushed to one side or the other because it has to share space with that ball chain that is running through the capture chain. However, over on SilverSilkOnline.com, there is SilverSilk that is hollow, and the hollow chain is perfect for running your wire through, and you don't have to fight for space with that ball chain that's on the inside of it. And I actually am going to let Nile know coming up that I would like to have some of that to do a project with. So we can do that. If that's something you guys want to see, we can run some wire through the hollow chain because it's super cool stuff. Then you can make all kinds of shapes. All right, so I've wire wrapped and then I've just kind of bent my wire so that it's coming out this direction. And now I'm going to trim off this tail. Okay, so now at this point, I need to hide all of this ugly wire wrapping. And so what I chose to use is, this is a Bead product. It's called a Tassel Topper. And you don't have to use a Tassel Topper for this, but I like to because it's that little cup. It's going to hide all that ugly wire wrapping, and then it's got that hole right at the end. So I'm going to be able to use that wire and cover up everything. You can use a necklace cone for this. You can use any kind of bead cap, anything you want that's going to fit and cover up all of your wire wrapping. All right, so now I'm going to thread on just this really tiny little guy. I just really love mixing up the shapes and the sizes and the colors. It's so much fun, and they're so beautiful. Like, these colors go together so well. So there's really, you can't go wrong, you know? Any beads that you love, add them to it. All right, so now we're going to use the end of this wire to just create a wrapped loop. I'm grabbing the wire right above where it's coming out of that last bead. Now do y'all see why Joan and I are wild? It's our leader. Who's your leader? Who would that be? Okay, so I'm bending that wire 90 degrees right above that top bead. Okay. And now I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers and grab that wire. Now this time we don't want to make that great big huge loop. So we're just going to make a regular sized loop, and I like to make mine fairly small. So I'm down here towards the small end on my pliers, and I'm just going up and over. And as you can see, I have way more wire than I needed. That's just kind of how I do things. And then on around, okay? Now I'm going to switch hands so that now I can wire wrap that straight section of the wire that is kind of hard to see. Let's see, but it is there. There we go. Now you can see it. See the little straight section? I'm going to go ahead and wire wrap around that with my long tail here. And I'm not going to double this one. I'm just going to wrap around the standard 3 times and trim off the tail, okay? All right, now we're going to repeat this on the other side. We have these loops on the ends here, and I want to finish those off with something. All right, so now this portion of our necklace is ready to add to the other portion of our necklace. Okay, so what we're going to do is we want this guy to hang in the center, right? But in order to do that, we're going to have to secure it to the necklace somehow. So the easiest way that I knew how to do this was to just create like a lark's head knot. So I'm placing the silver capture chain behind seafoam capture chain, okay? And now I'm going to use my ends, take one side and go down through, and we're going down through that loop so that we're going behind, okay? And to do it twice, I cannot remember how I did this the first time. To do it twice, oh, we're going to go behind. So we're going to go behind. I'm over here on the left-hand side this time, okay? I'm going behind and then down through. Oops. Okay. Okay, and then down through that loop again. This is really just the exact same step. It's just that you have to remember to go behind. Otherwise, you're going to sit and look at it and go, what in the world do I do now? Okay, so now you can see we've made the exact same lark's head knot. It's just doubled, basically. Okay, and so now you want to adjust it. You want to kind of figure out where you want the capture chain to lay. You can rearrange it.